right, welcome everybody. Happy Friday. Happy Good Friday if you're celebrating Easter this weekend. And I hope that everyone is doing well. We are going to start on our backs today if that's comfortable for you. So feel free to pad your head with a pillow or blanket and just settle into the floor. And I will join you in just a few minutes. I'm going to also do a reading. So feel free to keep your knees bent, or you can have your knees long, whatever feels best today. Just really, focus in on your own needs and your body and what you're thinking feels best for you. So yoga is all about following our own needs and listening to the body really well. So just begin to settle into the floor. Maybe bring one hand to your low belly and one hand to your heart. So we're laying on your back. Knees are bent or long. If you have your knees bent, maybe bring your feet a little wider than hips distance and just let the legs rest in on each other. And just breathe here. So try to deepen the inhale, deepening the breath on the inhale, and then lengthening the breath on the exhale. And I have a reading today called Settle and Receive from Judith Hanson Lassiter. She wrote this last year in the middle of the shutdown and the pandemic, and it just sort of spoke to me the other day, so I thought I would share. Light is a paradox, both a wave and a particle. This is impossible but true. Happiness is a paradox too, not an accident nor an achievement. Happiness is already here. It can never be created. Rather, happiness is only discovered when we settle and receive it. Settle and receive the goodness you already possess. Believe this innate goodness. Settle and receive the simplicity of life's biggest paradox of love. Settle and receive the unending love the universe has for you, the love that it has had for you since you were born. Our only hope in the face of this paradox of love is to open to the glorious singing stillness that lives in our very selves and always has. Even one flash of knowing this paradoxical stillness will banish your fear. Settle and receive it always. So continue with the wave of breath between your chest and your belly. So on the inhale, you feel your belly and chest rise, filling the belly with air. And on the exhale, allow your body to settle into the floor. Feel the chest sink down. Notice the breath as it moves from your belly to your chest, up through the collarbones and up through the head. And then try to focus the exhale down the back of the spine and just feeling everything softening on the exhale. Three more breaths like this. So inhale, expanding, lengthening, and allowing the chest to rise. Exhale and falling and softening into the floor. And then on the bottom of your last exhale, bring your hands to the floor, palms flat to the floor. Inhale and raise the right arm up. Exhale and drop the back of the hand to the floor behind you. And then inhale, bring the arm back up. Exhale the palm back down, and repeat on the left. Inhale up. Exhale the back of the palm or back of the hand to the floor. Inhale up. Exhale back down, and then take both hands together. Inhale the hands up. Exhale the back of the hand to the floor, and notice if one shoulder is a little tighter, maybe one hand reaches the floor first. Just notice. Inhale back up, exhale down, and then both hands again. Inhale up,
And then turn at the top of the chest here, fingertips facing the ceiling, and face the palms towards each other and reach for opposite elbows. Hold on, inhale, and then exhale, bring the arms over to the right. Come back to center, inhale, exhale, over to the left. Inhale back to center, exhale the arms to the forehead or even to the crown of the head if that's available for your shoulders. Feel the length in the side waist, and then inhale the arms back up to center. Separate the arms and then recross with the opposite forearm in front. Inhale and exhale over to the right. Come back to center. Inhale, exhale over to the left. And then come back to center and bring the arms over to the forehead or the crown of the head once more. And then if it's comfortable, keep your arms here. Separate the knees and bring your knees over to the right, flexing your left foot. So you'll feel a twist in the spine here. And if it's uncomfortable at all, just go ahead and back out of it. And then come back to center and drop your knees to your left, flexing your right foot. So keeping the feet active when we're bending and twisting is helpful in just protecting the knee joints. And then come back to center, release the arms back to the sides. Release them down, stretch the legs long, and then bring the arms up overhead straight, and walk the feet over to the right, and then walk the hands over to the right and come into a C shape or a banana pose. Reaching out with the left heel, reaching out with the right or the left hand towards the right. And then come back to center. Come over to the left. Reaching out with the right heel and reaching out with the right hand. Feeling the length in the right side of your body. And then walk back to center. Bend the knees. Roll over to your right side. Bring the left hand to the floor. And take a breath here before we sit up. We're going to come to seated. And then push into the left hand and come up slowly. Bring your head up last. And then just come into a cross-legged seated position for just a few moments. We'll do a couple more stretches, and we're kind of just working our way up to our standing poses. So allowing our body to slowly sort of wake up and warm up. So let's start with some shoulder rolls. Inhale and bring the shoulders forward and up to your ears. And then exhale and bring them back and down. So notice your shoulder blades kind of rolling in a circle here. You might feel some crunchy spots or some sticky spots. Inhale, forward and up. Exhale, back and down. Last time. Hands to your sides. Turn the palms up, inhale, and bring the palms all the way up above. Touch the palms, bring your hands to your heart. Turn the fingertips away from the body and push the hands away, stretching out the arms, and then just kind of rounding the shoulders here, so tucking the chin, feeling the shoulder blades separate, and then inhale, open the chest, open the hands out to the sides, lift the chin up. Breathe, and then exhale. Bring the hands out in front of you, bend the elbows and bring them back to your heart. Release the hands back to your sides. Turn the left palm up, inhale and reach the arm all the way up. Lengthen and reach, and then bend the left elbow, place the hand to the back of the head, and walk the right hand out to the right. And just lean over. So kind of pushing the left elbow back in space while you're leaning over, really opening up the front of that shoulder. And then release the left hand above the head. and reach out to the right. Come back up, turn the right palm up, inhale and lengthen here, reaching all the way up to the sky, bend the left or the right elbow, place the hand on the back of the head and then come over towards the left. So opening up the right shoulder, keep breathing, release the jaw, and then reach the right arm over, lengthen, and come back to center. And we'll do our first forward fold. So bring the hands in front of you and walk the hands out. So you don't have to go too far this first time. Just allowing the head to come towards the floor while we're stretching out the arms. And then inhale, walk the hands back in. Lean back just slightly and retuck with the opposite leg in front. And then walk the hands forward again. Take a nice breath here. Inhale and walk the hands back in. And then we'll come into a table pose. So again, feel free to pad the knees if you have any knee sensitivity or if you're in, on a hard floor. And we'll just do a couple rounds of cat-cow. So inhale and exhale, empty the belly, arch the back up, gazing down towards your knees, separating the shoulder blades, pushing the floor away, and then inhale, bring the chest towards the floor with a slight untucking of the tailbone here. And then tuck the tailbone, separate the shoulder blades again, gazing down at the knees. And just a couple more here. Inhale, arching the belly, or arching the back. Exhale, empty the belly. One more. Inhale, bring the chest towards the floor. And exhale. Come back to stillness. Reach the right foot back behind you and just stretch out that hamstring. So pushing out through the heel here. And then release the tension in the foot and lift the left leg or the right leg up, toes pointing down. Bring the weight into the right hand and reach out with the left. Keep the navel to the spine, so engage that core in order to protect your low back here. Release the left hand, release the right knee, reach out with the left foot, power through that left heel, maybe move back and forth if that's comfortable, or just stay still. We don't want to overdo either, so we don't want to strain the hamstring by pushing too hard. And then come to stillness and lift that left leg, toes pointing down towards the floor. Bring the weight into your left hand and reach out with the right. Again, keeping the core engaged to protect the low back. Release the right hand, release the left. Turn the left fingertips towards the right hand. Take the right hand out and up. And then bring the right hand underneath the left arm. And bring the right side of the face to the left hand. Come into thread the needle or a twist. Push into the left hand to come back up. And then turn the right fingertips towards the left hand and reach out with the left hand up and out. And then bring the left hand under the right arm. Release the left cheek to the right hand and twist. Think about threading the hand through the other arm. Push into the right hand to come back up. And we'll come into a half dog pose or a puppy pose. So bringing the hands just slightly in front of the shoulders, you're just drawing the hips back into space. So we're not bringing the hips to the heels like in child's pose. We're just bringing them back. So this takes some pressure off of your hands or your wrists or shoulders even in downward dog. It's a great alternative if this feels more comfortable to you, or if downward dog is a little more challenging. This is a great way to modify downward dog. So feel free to use this instead when we do our downward dogs. And come forward just slightly, tuck the toes under and come up into downward dog if that's comfortable, or just stay in half dog, that's fine too. So keep your knees bent to start and just bring the chest towards the thighs, reaching out with the arms, stretching and lengthening the back. Allowing the head to drop into the pose. And maybe start pedaling up the legs here. So heels pushing down into the ground, bending one knee, straightening the other, and then alternating back and forth. And then bending both knees and straightening at the same time. So allowing both heels to come down towards the floor. And then look up towards the hands. Inhale and exhale completely. And then walk the feet forward and come into standing forward bend at the top of your mat. So allow your head to rest into the pose here. Bring your hands towards the floor and just fold. Inhale and exhale. Release any tension that you're holding on to. And then push into your heels and come up to your first mountain. So allow your body to just kind of roll up into standing. And we'll work on our mountain here. So finding the midpoint of your feet, really sensing your feet on the floor, rooting into the ground, rooting the outer leg lying down, drawing a navel to the spine and rolling the shoulders back and open. Draw the fingertips down the sides of your body and feel strong and stable, just like a mountain. And then inhale and bring the hands all the way up into upward hand pose, reaching out through the fingertips, maybe gazing upward, lifting the back of the heart. And then bring the hands to the hips and find your hip crease and then fold forward. And bring the hands down to your feet again. Come up into a half lift so your hands go up to your shins and you work towards a flat back here. So reaching out the crown of the head, keeping your back flat, and then fold forward again. Put your palms flat to the floor and step back to downward dog. Take 2 breaths here. And then come into a plank. So you can do a full plank here or lower your knees if that's better for you. Today I feel like I need to lower my knees for my plank. So you're coming over your hands with your shoulders and then releasing down to the floor. So if you're on your knees, you can do knees, chest, and chin to lower down, keeping the hips elevated, or just lower all the way down together. Untuck the toes and then come into a low cobra here. So I actually hurt my back this week, so I'm modifying just slightly and reading my body to know what I can and cannot do. So you'll notice if I can't do certain things, I'll just talk you through it. Lower back down to the floor, and then come into table and back into downward dog. So tuck the toes, come all the way back up with the hips. And then step your right foot forward to your hands. Now if you can't get all the way forward, feel free to reach back with your right hand and pull your leg forward. If you have blocks, you can bring blocks underneath your shoulders. If you don't, you can use something else. I should have mentioned that at the beginning if you have anything handy. Or just allow your hands to be right next to your foot. And then lower your left leg down and come into your right knee. So bend into your right knee, lift your chest here. And And feel the stretch in the front of the left thigh here. And then bring your hands to your right knee. Come all the way up, lifting the chest. Reaching up through the crown of the head. Release the hands down. And then forward and up. Bring your palms to touch. And then release the left elbow to your right knee. So coming into a twist, your hands are together. Your right elbow is pointing up towards the ceiling. And then release your hands back down. Bring your blocks off to the side. Lift up your left leg and then bring your right foot back to meet your left. Come back into downward dog. Walk the feet forward into standing forward bend. Maybe shake your head no. Nod your head yes. Come up to a half lift, so flat back here. Fingertips down the shins, and then release back down. Maybe even grab onto your elbows here and just really hang into the pose. So allow yourself to relax into your fold. Maybe even moving your hips back and forth, and just release your tension. This is such a great pose to release tension. Allow it to just drain out of the top of your head. And then bring your hands back to the floor and step back this time with your right foot. So keeping your left foot forward. And then lower the right knee, release the right toes, and then come into, bend into the left leg this time. So we're stretching out the front of the right thigh. Lifting the chest and head up. And then bring the hands to the knee. Release the hands, lift up and over. And then bring the palms to touch and twist. So bring your right elbow to the left knee. Palms together. Stay focused on something for balance if this is a little wobbly. Perfectly fine. And then release the hands back down to the blocks. Tuck the toes under, lift the right knee, move your blocks off to the side, and come back to downward dog again. Roll forward into plank once more, and then lower down to your belly. This time we'll do Sphinx, so bring your hands in front of you, palms flat to the floor, elbows underneath the shoulders, and keep the core engaged. So imagine your navel coming to the spine, and just lifting your chest and shoulders up, looking forward, and then if it's comfortable, maybe reaching over with your head and looking down to your right heel. And then come back to center. And again, if it's comfortable, looking over your left shoulder to your left heel. Come back to center, lower back down to your belly. Push into table. And come back into, let's do a half dog. You can do a half dog or a child's pose here. So whatever feels best in this moment. And then walk the feet forward into standing forward bend. Again, shake your head no. Nod your head yes. Come into a half lift. And then pull forward. Bring your hands to your hips and sink the thighs down even further. So coming into a bended knee. And then release the hands and sweep them up and out in front of you and come into powerful pose. Some people call this chair pose, but doesn't feel like sitting in a chair to me. And then sweep the hands up and straighten the legs and come all the way up into mountain. Release the hands to the heart and breathe. And then release the hands. I want to do a warrior one pose today. So we are going to step back into kind of the same type of lunge, but a warrior one foot placement is a little bit different. So step your right foot back to start. And we're not going, the full length like we do in Warrior 2, which we'll probably do next. We're just going, a little ways back. And then the toes on the right foot are facing to about 2 o'clock. The toes on the left foot are facing forward still, and the hips are square to the front of the mat this time. So we're bending into the left knee. Keeping the hands to the hips to start. And this is great. If you want to stay here, this is perfectly fine. Or release the hands and sweep them up and overhead. And come into Warrior 1. So Warrior 1 is actually a little more challenging than Warrior 2, which it seems like it would be a little easier, but there's a lot of challenge here with squaring the hips off and keeping your feet in alignment. And then release the hands behind you and grab onto opposite elbows. So your arms are at your low back. And then just begin to fold forward over your bent knee. So this is called Humble Warrior. So we're bending forward any amount. So feel free to, stop when it feels comfortable for you. Bending over, maybe bringing your head all the way down towards your shin. Kind of in like a bow position. Belly to the thigh. And then push into the left foot and bring your body back up. Bring your hands down to the floor. Turn your right foot forward and then release your left foot back and come into downward dog. And then walk your feet forward or step your feet forward into standing forward bend. Keep your right foot forward and release your left foot back. And again, we're turning the left foot out to this time about 10 or 11 o'clock. Bring your hands to your hips and rise up to standing. Bend into that right knee. So make sure you have your feet placement okay before you release your hands. So you're bending into that right knee, keeping the left foot back, squaring the hips off with the front of the mat. Release the hands and bring them all the way up and over. Warrior 1. And then sweep the hands behind you and reach for your elbows, opposite elbows, and begin to fold forward over your knee. And again, feel free to stop where it is comfortable for you in this fold, or bring your head all the way down to your chin. And then release the arms slowly, bring them down to the floor. Turn your left foot forward and then bring your right foot back. Breathe here. And then lower down to your belly again. So lower your knees first, come into plank, untuck your toes, and lower all the way down to your belly. pillow your hands, and then lower your forehead to your head, to your hands, and just breathe here. Notice the point of contact with the floor so you can really feel your belly expanding against the floor, your ribcage opening, and then softening on the exhale. 3 more breaths here. And then lift your head and rest your left cheek on your left hand and bend your right leg so your foot is pointing up towards the ceiling, and then reach back with your right hand and maybe grab your right ankle if that's comfortable. If you can't quite reach, feel free to just leave your knee bent. And we're not yanking on the foot, but just holding it to support. So just stretching out the front of that thigh once more. And then maybe bringing it out to the side a little bit just to kind of open up that hip. And come back to center. Release the right foot down, bring the right hand back up, and then release the right cheek to the right hand, bend the left leg, and then reach back with the left hand, only as far as is comfortable. Keep breathing. Check in with your mouth and make sure you're not clenching the jaw or the tongue. Draw the left leg over to the side. Open up that left hip. Come back to center. Release the leg. Keeping the hands pillowed, just begin to walk your arms over to the right here. So we're doing that lateral stretch again, kind of like when we were on our back, and just stretching out the left side. So maybe you're even reaching out with the left elbow to the right here. And then walk the hands back to center. Bring the elbows over to the left and reach out with the right arm. Come back to center. Bring the hands to the low ribs and push back up into table. And then come back into downward dog once more. Walk the feet forward into standing forward bend. Release the head down. Bring the hands to the hips and push up all the way into mountain pose. Release the hands and sweep them up and overhead. Touch the palms and bring the hands to the heart. And then open the eyes and come over to the long edge of your mat. We'll just do a quick side wide angle stance here. So pointing the toes towards your long edge, bringing your feet about 3 feet apart or so. And then bring the hands to the hips and find your hip crease again, and then fold forward here. So bringing the hands out in front of you, and if you have blocks, you can place them in front of you if that's better. Just kind of brings the floor a little closer to you. Otherwise, bring them to the floor, towards the floor as best you can, and then allow your head to fall down. And then bend the right knee, lengthening the left. Come back to center, bend the left knee, lengthening the right. Come back to center. Come up on your fingertips and work towards a flat back here. And then bring your hands to your hips and rise all the way up to standing. Pivot on the right foot and bend the right knee, keeping the hips square with the long edge. And we'll come into warrior two. So just to give you kind of a perspective of warrior one versus warrior two. So bring the arms up, palms up to start. Gaze over the right hand and turn the palms facing down and come into warrior two. So notice if this feels better for you than warrior one, or if it's more challenging. Just notice your body and what it's saying to you today. Bring the left hand to the left thigh, right arm up and over into a reverse warrior. Come back into warrior two. Bend the right elbow, place the left hand on the left hip, and then lower the right elbow to the right knee. Open up the left shoulder and reach up with the left hand. Push into the right foot, come back to warrior two, place your hands on your hips and straighten the right leg. Pivot on the right heel and then switch to the left side. So the left toes are pointing towards the short edge of the mat. Bend the left knee, keep the hips square with the side. Float the hands up parallel with the floor. Gaze over the left hand and then turn the palms down. Reach back with the right hand on the right thigh and then reach up with the left hand. Reverse warrior. And then bring the hands parallel again. Bend the left elbow. Bring the left arm to the left knee. Reach out and up with the right hand. Push into the left foot to come back up. Straighten the left, pivot on the foot, and then come back into mountain. So heel toe the feet back in. Shake out the legs. Come to the back of your mat. Keep your feet nice and wide. Bring your hands behind you and clasp your hands together and then open up the chest here. And then we'll fold forward one last time. So bringing the hands just behind you, really just, allowing gravity to bring your upper body down towards the floor and then just allowing your arms to follow. So they might be right at your low back, that's fine. The point is to really open up the front of the shoulders here, so any amount is perfect. And then release the hands first to the low back and then walk them in front of you. And come into downward dog for the last time. Take 3 breaths here. And then lower the knees and crawl forward. And come to your seat. And then we're going to lower down to the back, but we'll do it really nice and slow here. So, and maybe bring your hands out to the sides and just really allow the vertebra to lower to the ground one at a time, or maybe holding on to the back of your thighs. However feels best for you, but just kind of allowing your body to move slowly to the floor. So that will look differently to everyone. And then lower your head, bring your hands to your low belly, and just breathe for a moment here. So I like to take a moment in a lot of different poses to check in with the breath, because you'll notice how important the breath is and really what it does to change our practice. So when you're ready, bring the right knee into the chest and hug it in. And then cross the right ankle over the left leg and hug the left leg in. So reaching between the legs to your left thigh and hugging it in. Keep the feet active here. Same thing as before, just really protecting those knee joints. And then release the left foot down. Bring the right foot over to the left to the floor and open up that left leg, and then just keeping the ankle crossed over here. So just a slight twist in the pelvis. And then come back to center, uncross the right ankle, hug the left knee in. Bring the left ankle to the right knee, reach through the legs to the right thigh and bring it into your chest. Release the right foot down and bring the left foot over to the side, to the right side. Again, opening up the right leg, stretching out the left outer hip here. Inhale, come back to center, release the left ankle. And then we'll do a bridge here. So bring the palms flat to the floor, feet are hips distance apart, and if you kind of bring your fingertips to your heels, that should be about where your feet are in relation to your hips. So push into, actually before we bridge up, bend your elbows and push into your elbows and open your chest here. So squeezing your shoulder blades together, puff up your chest. Give yourself lots of space in the front of your chest. And then bring the palms flat to the floor and begin to push into the heels and lift the hips up. So we don't want to cave in the chest. We want to keep the shoulders nice and broad. Bringing the shoulder blades together and just lifting the hips up really as much as is comfortable. So it doesn't matter how high up your bridge is. Keeping yourself stable and steady. And then slowly lower the hips back down. Stay in neutral for a moment. Take a breath. And then hug the knees in. And maybe rock back and forth and just kind of massage out the low back here. And then circle the knees around. Reverse that circle. Come back to center, and if you like to do any end pose like happy baby or anything that feels right for you, feel free to do that. And then we're going to set up for Shavasana. So maybe put your socks back on or sweatshirt if it's cold where you are. And Shavasana can be any pose that's comfortable for you for resting. So you can be just flat on your back, maybe with a pillow or a blanket underneath your knees. Anything that's really restful and just allows you to release. Shavasana is one of those things that as a yoga teacher we feel like we're trying to convince people to hang on for Shavasana because it is such an important pose, and it really it's sort of the reward for you for all the work that you did, and just really allows your body to reset, to move on with your day. So definitely encourage you to stick around and just allow yourself this last bit of time to just rest. So begin to feel your body softening again back into the floor, just how we started. Notice your toes relaxing, the tops of your feet and your arches. Release your heels and your ankles, and maybe roll your ankles around in a circle. Roll your feet around in a circle. And then just allow your feet to softly fall open. Release the shins and the calves. Release the hamstrings and the back of the knees. Release the kneecaps and the thighs. Release the hips and the pelvis. Bring your hands to your low belly and just breathe into that area and allow yourself to just soften in the belly. Release all the inner organs. Release the tops of the hips and the rib cage. And now move your hand to your solar plexus right under your rib cage at the top of your belly. Take a breath here and soften the solar plexus. Just release any tension that we're holding on to in the belly. Soften the sternum and the chest. Soften the shoulder blades into the floor. Release the upper arm bones and the elbows. Release the forearms and maybe roll your hands, roll your wrists in a circle. And then take your thumbs and touch each one of your fingertips and then go back. And allow the palms of your hands to just open softly. If you're needing some energy today, you can keep your hands open up to the sky to receive energy. And if you're needing more grounding, you can turn your palms down towards the floor and feel the ground, feel the earth pulling you in, allowing you to just rest. And release the tops of the shoulders and the back of the neck. Release the jaw, the earlobes, the inner ears. Release the tongue from the top of your mouth. Release the teeth. Release all the facial muscles. Release the crown of the head. Just allow yourself to relax, soften, just be. receive. Light is a paradox, both a wave and a particle. This is impossible but true. Happiness is a paradox too, not an accident nor an achievement. Happiness is already there, here. It can never be created. Rather, happiness is only discovered when we settle and receive it. Settle and receive the goodness you already possess. Believe this innate goodness. Settle and receive the simplicity of life's biggest paradox of love. Settle and receive the unending love the universe has for you, the love that it has had for you since before you were born. Our only hope in the face of this paradox of love is to open to the glorious singing stillness that lives in our very selves and always has. Even one flash of knowing this paradoxical stillness will banish your fear. Settle and receive it always. Begin to wiggle your fingers and toes and come back into the room. Deepen your breath. When you're comfortable to move, you can reach your arms overhead and maybe stretch your whole body out. And then roll over to your right side and stay there for a breath or two. Just allow the blood to recirculate and take your time coming up to seated so as not to get a head rush. And maybe in seated. Bring your head up slowly, hands to the floor. Turn your palms up, inhale the arms all the way up. Touch the palms and bring your hands to your heart. Thank you so much for being with me today and sharing your practice. I hope you have a beautiful Friday.